And just like that, Grayson got a second shot at life, with renewed life force and cleared of demonic energy. The older man thanked Airen for saving him, but our hero brushed it off like it was no biggie. Our hero's skills grow by the minute. Soon he'll be a jack of all trades. But before Kubaru and Airen left, the fortune teller orc mentioned to his drinking buddy that he sensed very heavy demonic energy from the sword he wielded before, which prompted him to ask where Grayson got it. But the skilled swordsman just said that he doesn't know. When he went home one day, he just found the sword lodged in the middle of the room, and as soon as he touched it to try and pull it out, Grayson could no longer break away from it. But now that he got his old self back, the older swordsman told the two that he'll head straight to the temple and confess his sins to cleanse his body of evil through abstinence as soon as it has recovered. But Kubaru used his skill and assessed Grayson's current state. The older swordsman no longer has any traces of evil left in his body, so there's no more impure energy. Gotta thank the Airen effect for that. So without another word, Kubaru and Airen bade their goodbye to Grayson and returned to the inn. While walking on the way back, the fortune teller orc told our hero that he was reminded of what Eden had said back then. The incident wherein a human is possessed by a demonic aura has happened quite a few times already, starting with Kajal, the brothers Victor and Charlotte, and now Grayson. This made Kubaru think back to what Eden had said, that peace may have been compromised a long time ago. And speaking of Grayson, the orc remembered that Airen was supposed to ask the older swordsman for a favor. But Cinnamon Roll Airen said that Grayson should focus on recovering for now, and there's nothing they could do about it. Turning to Airen, Kubaru asked what was the power he used earlier, but as always, our MC didn't know what was it as well. What he does know is that he fought with the intent of not losing to Grayson's demonic energy, and before he realized it, something changed within him. With this, Airen thought that maybe he could use this power on Ilya, as the orc only stared at him in silence. Little did Airen know, Kubaru was also preoccupied with our hero's newfound powers, an energy that purifies the demonic aura and a flame that restores life force. Hey, maybe next time, Airen could grow money on trees. Not that he needs it anyway. Back to Kubaru, the orc wondered how will his master react if he saw Airen. Now, let's take a look back at the inn, where Brett tells Judith to not skip her meals and eat properly, but our resident redhead has just about had enough of his nagging. Just then, Brett pointed out that he is here, and Judith was quick to turn around and see Airen greets her and is already pulling out the seat next to hers. The redhead froze, not expecting to see our hero, as she awkwardly greets him back and then looks back to the blue-haired noble with fuming eyes. Brett, on the other hand, just commented how it was getting hot and used it as a cue to get some beers. As soon as Brett came back, the blue-haired was quick to ask our hero what he's been up to lately, especially in regards to his training. And Airen answered in a pout that he's not doing good and he feels stuck, adding that controlling aura isn't as easy as he originally thought. At that, Brett paused mid-beer, as Airen said that he can't grasp the idea of it when Judith made him stop speaking. The redhead then proceeded to question him if he has ever learned aura application. And that's when Airen truthfully answered that he only started seeing his aura a few weeks ago. Hearing that, Judith further questioned him about all the techniques he's been showing them all this time, and our hero said that he's been training based on instinct ever since. Hearing him say this, the two could only sigh in exasperation at how absurd Airen was, but it was Judith who voiced it out. They can't believe that he was that powerful just by practicing on his own. But back to business, Brett told Airen that they learned aura application during the later portion of their training at Chrono Academy. However, not everybody could practice it, and only a few were able to execute those theories. He then pointed out to our hero that he has been able to manifest his aura since the final evaluation, which makes him a natural. But our clueless hero only said that he wasn't even aware of it. Once again, Judith is silent hearing all this, and suddenly, she stands up and told Airen that they should go since she has no choice. Our redhead took it upon herself to teach Airen the chrono-style aura application. Finally, the two have made up, but then again, knowing our hero, he probably has no idea Judith felt bad. Judith threatened to beat the living daylights out of Airen if he couldn't keep up with her teachings, which our hero was quick to agree to, as Brett just smiled to see his friends getting along again. Back at the forest clearing that served as Judith's training ground, the redhead began educating our hero. She explained how there are 6 basic concepts when it comes to basic aura application. First, there's accumulation, where one gathers mystical powers within them, and the second one is called strengthening, wherein they display that said power. The third one is called hardening, which allows one to endure strengthening, followed by the fourth one, which heightens sense, enlightenment. Now, There's also focusing, wherein one gathers their aura in a particular spot to show greater strength, and then finally, there's an external manifestation of the power inside one's self. As Judith explains all these, she starts manifesting her own aura to show Airen. Furthermore, she told our hero that the technique he used during the final evaluation used two concepts: focus and manifestation. Now, Judith said that while those two concepts are important in creating an aura sword, she stressed that he can't neglect the four others, since having all six of them work in harmony creates the most ideal conditions. Now that Judith explained it, Airen understood that it was pretty similar to his special attack, which also made him think that he can create his own aura sword with all six aspects. But for now, our hero made a mental note to keep training and be better at the aura application, which he started now. With that, our hero decided to start reinforcing the basics with these aura applications. See, these are pretty much similar to Nen, just a different universe. Airen kept practicing religiously, and before he knew it, a month has already passed. He spent his days training at John Drew's estate, and right now, he's busy focusing his thoughts to accumulate his aura. And once he has accumulated enough, he focused it on his hands, to be followed by manifesting it into his sword. As Airen did this, his aura spiked up, but as soon as he tried to manifest it to his sword, it fizzled out. Well, that was a flop. This isn't the first time this has happened, and our hero wondered why this keeps happening whenever he tries to manifest aura to his sword, as if the sword is absorbing the aura. The curious thing about his blade, though, is that it feels sturdier than before, but before he could dwell on it, Hinch came running, informing our hero that his next match has already been set. His next opponent will be Ricardo Pinto, and according to the reporter, this dude is the former champion of the Land of Attestment. So is this going to be another boss battle for our hero? Gotta say though, he must be the male version of Erza Scarlet. At the mention of the former champion, Airen stood in attention as Hinch explained that Ricardo is the top among experts, and other than that, he also returned with a fearsome weapon in hand. Word has spread quickly that Ricardo inherited Volcana's first numbering sword from his swordmaster father, Harrison Pinto. Airen verified if the numbering sword Hinch spoke of is the one that can withstand an aura sword, to which the reporter affirmed. But the thing is, if our hero won this match against Ricardo, then that would grant him the right to challenge the champion. Still, Hinch cautioned him that this won't be an easy win, but Airen just smiled, catching the reporter off guard, and our hero said that someone with a numbering sword will be the perfect opponent for him this time. Moreover, he told Hinch not to worry because he'll win no matter what. Then came the day of the match. As usual, the crowd is pretty hyped, hoping to see another impressive battle today. The announcer quickly introduced the return of the former champion, Ricardo Pinto, and the new rising star, Irene Pereira, for today's matchup. The red-haired swordsman told Airen that he has heard of the latter recently, since the people have been focusing on our hero lately, saying that he's pretty popular. He admits that a lot of the people in the crowd are expecting Airen to win today as well, but Ricardo proclaims that our hero is 1,000 years too early to stand against him, igniting his aura sword as soon as he said so. It wasn't long before the announcer declared the match to begin, and this time, Airen also started to manifest his golden aura, telling his opponent that he can't be sure of what he said. At this, Ricardo raised his head in question as our hero lunged at the other swordsman, thrusting his blade toward his direction with so much speed. Ricardo managed to react in time, but he has to say, Airen's got some speed. But psych, Airen used a feint and was suddenly behind Ricardo. The other swordsman barely made it in time for him to swing his sword to defend himself from Airen's attack, resulting in a loud and powerful clash that echoed throughout the arena. The force was so intense that Ricardo got a bit humbled by Airen's raw power, just like many of our hero's previous opponents. Among many things, Ricardo was not prepared to clash swords with someone this strong so naturally. He got blown away by Airen's attack, as he raised his sword to counter Airen. The older swordsman had to admit that our hero packed a punch with that power of his. The red-haired swordsman's arm trembled as he noticed Airen continues to increase his strength apart from his massive aura, but he was snapped back to reality when our MC dashed straight in front of Ricardo, clashing his sword against the other swordsman. At this, the former champion had no other choice but to defend from Airen's attacks, while at the same time noting the latter's special focus. Even he had to admit that our hero's aura application skills are quite advanced. It's about time he acknowledged Airen's skills, or else he'll be swept away before he knows it. Now, Ricardo got more serious, telling our MC that he's not all talk after all, as Airen braced himself for the former champion's next attack. The two exchanged powerful blows one after another that sparks and debris keep flying everywhere. The announcer excitedly narrated how the two swordsmen are giving a spectacular show exhibiting their impressive talents that it's difficult to believe that they barely started the battle. As the crowd cheered, the announcer couldn't help but commend the former champion for his performance as well, as expected of the former champion. Meanwhile, Ilya and her bodyguard Emma watch from the balcony as the two swordsmen battle it out. The champion is focused on the fight, and it's Airen's turn to be praised by the announcer. Considering he had a 40-day break from his previous match, our hero was fighting on par with Ricardo. As for the former champion, the signs of struggle are starting to show on his face, evident that he's not only being pressured by Airen, but he also finds our hero pesky. And do you know the reason why he said so? It's because Airen keeps aiming for Ricardo's sword. Even the announcer has noticed this, with Airen giving extra heavy blows on Ricardo's blade, the next one so powerful that a cloud of dust resulted thanks to the impact. Airen's attacks made the announcer wonder if our MC is aiming to win by weapon breaking a numbering sword as the crowd looked on incredulously. Meanwhile, Brett pointed out that Airen thinks he could go up against an aura sword once he breaks a numbering sword, which made this stunt all the more incredible. But Ricardo was not having it, scowling at the fact that Airen's trying to break his numbering sword, so this time, the former champion rose to our MC's challenge. He taunted our hero to give it all he has. And that's exactly what our hero did. Airen became more forceful, landing multiple blows on Ricardo's sword, but the latter didn't let our hero have his way easily. The former champion also came at Airen with all he has, with sparks of red and glow flying every time their swords clashed. And you know it's one heck of a battle when the stage is full of dents and craters from how much force the two swordsmen are showcasing. If consistency has a human form, it would no doubt take the form of Airen, since our boy just kept at it, hitting Ricardo's numbering sword with so much blunt force. And what's even more impressive is that he never lost his cool. And unlike him, his opponent began showing signs of stress as our hero told himself that he was not going to lose. Our boy's putting his desire with every swing, and it's paying off big time since the spectators could see his opponent being pushed back, much to their shock. But our hero didn't stop there. Despite landing one forceful blow after another, the energy he exerted in every swing is the same as the first one, and in quick succession too. Airen thought that whatever comes his way, he'll make sure to win, which is why he will continue pushing himself harder each time until he stood toe-to-toe with Ilya. Our hero's aura is obviously starting to grow more intense as he continued with his offensive attacks against Ricardo. Airen tells Ilya to wait for him, and with this next swing, our hero did the unthinkable. He cracked a numbering sword. As the announcer tells the crowd how our MC is overpowering the former champion, the spectators got their eyes glued on the two swordsmen, especially with how Ricardo's sword just cracked. The next clash was even more evident as it gave a different sound, distinct enough that even they know Ricardo's blade is starting to give way. Judith and Brett held their breath as Ricardo pulled back to see the damage his sword has taken, the crack getting bigger as fear and anxiety started to settle in the former champion. But our MC is all about business, and he's not going to stop. For his final attack, Airen braced himself and lunged at Ricardo, too fast for the eyes to see, with the only proof that he won is Ricardo's numbering sword shattering in front of him. The crowd's mouth hung open as the announcer declared Airen the winner, simultaneously followed by a thunderous applause that erupted from the arena. Judith and Brett couldn't believe that Airen was really able to pull it off as he made another unbelievable win. As the announcer told everyone that the championship match will take place next month, our hero was too focused on looking at the champion's seat, with Ilya also looking at him intently in return. Next, we'll be seeing the champion battle of April as Airen and Ilya will face off. Finally, Chrono Swordsmanship Academy's top two students are about to face off. Our hero sure did go through a lot to where he is right now, but back to the story. Airen continues to do what he does best, training. The gang's back together again, and this time, they're on the forest clearing that served as Judith's training ground. But this time, it's our MC who just took a deep breath and tried to enforce his aura onto his sword. Unfortunately, it's still a flop, and based on his observations, it looks like the sword absorbed the aura again. Judith noticed that he was trying to make an aura sword with what he just did, but Airen admitted that he hasn't been able to do so despite trying for a couple of days now. Seeing Airen struggle and hit a wall with his training gave the redhead a bit of satisfaction, and she even mockingly asked him if he really believed that he could master something like this in a matter of months. Judith just really had to rub it in our hero's face that what he wants to achieve is a pretty difficult feat. And suffice it to say, the redhead's enjoying his misery, but our hero could only ask and wonder why she's acting like this. As if that wasn't bad enough, Judith went on full petty mode and acted like a child, taunting Airen but unknown to her. One of the spectators, also known as a certain blue-haired gentleman called Brett, finds what she's doing pretty cute as Lulu side-eyes him suspiciously. And Brett the simp is finally showing his true colors. Now, let's hop on to the champion's estate. Unlike Airen's crew, who's pretty lighthearted, Ilya has been busy training religiously that her bodyguard looks at her worriedly. I would too, especially since Ilya has been hard at it for a week now. The silver-haired beauty already looks so worn out, and Emma couldn't help but wish her mistress would stop overworking herself like this. Back to Airen. The sun is beginning to set as our hero sits by himself on the large boulder in the forest clearing. He's deep in thought, wondering if he could really bring back the old Ilya, but just then, a voice sounded telling him not to doubt himself. As Airen looked up, he sees Judith looking at him with a smile as our hero asked the redhead if it was that obvious that he was starting to wallow in self-doubt, and she answered yes. There was a moment of silence before Judith admitted to Airen that for the past couple of days, she has been annoyed at him for a couple of reasons. For one, there's the indisputable fact that our MC got stronger in such a short time, and he was also able to catch on quickly and learn how to control his aura better than her as soon as she teaches him something new. Although Judith also said to him that she doesn't really know what's up with their silver-haired co-trainee, but the resident redhead truly believes that everything will be alright because of who Airen is. Our hero cares for others more than anyone else could, and before she could get any sappier, Judith decided to give Airen a big whack on the back and just told him to do his best so that he'll have nothing to worry about later. Later that night, as Airen lays on his bed thinking about the big day tomorrow, our hero hopes that he could do well against his fight with Ilya, and as soon as he shuts his eye, he is transported into a familiar place in Dreamland. Once again, Airen stands before the old man who is busy swinging his sword, but something has definitely changed. Compared to before, the older man's cold rage seems less intense, and he seems to be calmer too. Just then, the swordsman turned to Airen and started walking toward our hero, much to his shock. Airen froze as the old man looked at him and mouthed something. But before he could figure it out, Airen woke up with a start and just sat on his bed thinking that the older man was trying to tell him something. Now what could this swordsman have said, and why now of all time? And we're back at the arena. Can't believe the crowd got a lot louder today than in the previous battles, and it's because it's the much-awaited championship match. It's the dream stage of any swordsman in the land of attestment, and today, the highly anticipated battle of the year is taking place. There is a deafening cheer as the crowd goes wild with the announcer introducing the level king powerhouse and the eye of the storm, rising star Irene Pereira. And for today, he will be challenging the land of attestment's current strongest swordsman, the undefeated swordmaster, and their very own champion, Ilya. The two swordsmen rose in ranks and both have reputations and skills that preceded them, but only can be the champion. With that, the announcer declares the match to begin. Now this is one boss battle we can't miss. Ilya was the first to move and dashed straight to Airen, and before he realized it, she was already right in front of him. With a big swing, she landed the first hit, which our hero managed to block in time, but the champion was not giving him enough time to recover as she made a turn and was about to hit him from behind. This time, our MC met her blade with his, their swords clanking loudly and with such speed that the crowd had trouble keeping up with the fight. As both swordsmen raised their weapons to deliver another blow, Ilya realized that Airen was about to do a downward slash, which is why she jumped back and put some distance between them. But if people thought she was running away, the champion merely used this ploy to gain momentum and brace for another attack that catapulted her at an incredible speed to Airen. Airen's crew couldn't believe what she did, impressed at how Ilya even used manifestation in her footwork. Before she darts off in the opposite direction, Ilya condenses the aura on her feet and then bursts it to propel herself even faster. It's pretty impressive since not everyone can do this and is considered an advanced technique. This is just like the chakra training Team 7 had to do in the early days of Naruto. Now, back to the fight. True to what the guys said, Ilya had more force in her swings, and not only that, she was hitting Airen with consecutive swings that our hero had no choice but to defend from her attacks. But Airen decided he'll no longer be her punching bag and decided to fend off her attacks with one big swing that forced the champion back. Even Ilya couldn't believe that happened, but before she could dwell on this further, Airen started to hit back with so much force, putting into action the aura control he learned from all these months. He came running at Ilya as the announcer narrated that the champion has been knocked back, a never-before-seen event. Now, Ilya feels the pressure getting to her that even the crowd noticed for struggles, which prompted the announcer to voice out the unquestionable. Can Airen actually take down the current champion? But at this, Ilya started to fight back, preparing to unleash a technique the crowd was not familiar with. But not Brett. He knew what she was trying to do as she unleashed a hurricane-like technique, the Sword of the Sky. But our hero stood bravely in front of it, not budging an inch, as he braced for a big swing. And Airen did another commendable feat. He countered Ilya's technique using the Sword of the Sky as well. The wind was blowing so hard in the arena with the debris, smoke, and dust mixed in together as the crowd was wowed. Even Brett and Judith couldn't believe their eyes at their friend for pulling a technique like this from his sleeve. As soon as the dust settled, the anxiety is evident now more than ever in Ilya's face, shocked at how our hero was not only able to replicate her family's technique, but also used it against her to counter it. But this time, Airen was the first to speak up, asking the champion how much time she's gonna waste, and told Ilya to bring out her aura sword. Hot dang, that's one intense fight and we haven't been to the good part yet. But what the heck was that? The announcer is losing his wonder over Airen's use of the very same technique Ilya attacked him with and nullifying it as well. But Airen knows this is not her best, telling Ilya to take out her aura sword and threatening her that he'll break her blade if she won't do so. At this, Ilya got angry and brought out her aura sword instantly. The crowd went wild since the announcer narrated how the champion has now brought out her aura sword once again. With people already looking forward to an even more intense battle, the priest watches silently from the crowd. Surprisingly, a lot of people are betting for our hero to win and claim the title in this match, but will he? Jumping back to business, Ilya unleashed her aura sword along with it, and before Airen could take a good look at it, she zapped right in front of him with a swing. Our MC, bless his inhumane reflexes, managed to dodge her deadly swing by leaning his body far back, but Ilya already launched a bombardment of attacks before he could even gain his balance. Seeing this, Judith said that they may have spoken too soon about Airen dominating the match, but Lulu has a firm belief that our hero could win. True to what the little mystic said, Airen is not giving any signs of defeat, and instead, he's holding out pretty well against a powered-up Ilya, matching her every swing with equal brute force. This time, he took the lead and sprinted straight at her, already in the middle of doing the downward slash, surprising the champion. She managed to evade him, but still, there's so much power and technique in that one slash that people can't help but point out these two swordsmen are neck and neck. As for Ilya, her pride couldn't allow herself for performing this poorly against an expert. But girl, he's not just any expert. He's Airen, for gosh sake. Before she could fully succumb to the pressure, Ilya decided that she needs to finish this quickly, which is why she went for the offense again, clashing against Airen, who was all ready for her attack. Furthermore, another reason the champion thought of ending this match is that she doesn't want the public to see her struggle. Surely, rumors will start circulating as soon as they saw this. Back in the stands, even Brett noticed that Ilya is starting to get impatient. Meanwhile, Lulu, who has been quiet all this time, made several observations during their fight and was quick to assess that Ilya is the one who has better skills than Airen. But our hero is putting up a good fight, thanks to all the training he did, apart from being fired up courtesy of the dark energy coming from the champion. And with their current conditions, there's no doubt that our hero is Ilya's worst nightmare right now. As if to prove a point, Airen and Ilya clashed again, which resulted in a large cloud of smoke due to the impact. The champion jumped back to assess the damage, and as soon as it cleared, Airen walked out and is resilient as ever. This very act pissed the champion so much that resulted in an increase in her aura, the violet glow crackling around her body before she went for the offense and slashed her hero, blocking her attack. Seeing Ilya get frantic and impatient to win, Airen thought how he has always been thankful to her as they continue to fight, and while thinking so, the aura surrounding his sword starts to crackle. If she didn't reach out and helped him back then, our hero thought that he would never have gotten this far, so he feels grateful to her. Contrary to Airen's melodramatic thoughts, Ilya continues to struggle as she thrusts her sword toward our hero, but Airen managed to get out of the way. Back to our hero's thoughts, Airen said to himself that it was his turn to help Ilya now. And as he said this, his sword began to shine so bright Rihanna's diamonds couldn't even compare. There was a change happening inside our hero as he continues to hit and reform the sword in his mind, and this time, he managed to produce a new and improved look of his blade. Now, back to the match. Airen's blade, now in a different form, glows continuously as he prepares to attack Ilya. Meanwhile, the crowds didn't foresee this development, nor did they think they are gonna witness the reformation of Airen's now illuminating sword. And you bet your butt Brett and Judith couldn't believe their friend managed to pull off an aura sword right in the middle of the match. There was a bright flash of light, followed by a loud clash, and then suddenly, the announcer exclaimed how much of an upset this match is. The crowd saw Ilya's sword break in half just in time as Airen was declared the winner of the match. Of course, our MC not only ended it coolly with a hero pose, but he also got a brand new blade. Bro really just became the newest paladin. As the new champion of the Land of Attestment, the crowd began to chant Airen's name in unison as Ilya knelt on the stage. Now that it's over, many thoughts of anxiety started to flood the former champion, but more than anything, she doesn't know what to do now. Before she could wallow in self-pity any further, Airen called out to her with his aura still intact. As he got closer, our hero asked Ilya if they can make up, as much as it was embarrassing for him to say this while reaching his hand out to her. Little did he know, Ilya felt a warm feeling wash over her, and the final strains of the violet demonic aura dispersed into thin air. Seeing Airen smile brightly with his hand extended to her, the former champion could only sigh and smiled back while reaching her hand to his. So is their ship canon or what? Many of the spectators who saw this are still reeling from witnessing the birth of a new champion, and everyone's pretty much in a celebratory mood. Except for one. The creepy priest stood up without a word and accidentally bumped his seatmate's shoulder. Of course, the latter didn't take to this kindly and grabbed the hooded priest by the shoulder, calling him out for his lack of manners. And then suddenly, a violet aura emanated from the priest, affecting the bald man whose memory of this recent event was wiped clean. Obviously, the creepy priest didn't like how this all ended, especially seeing Ilya, who now has an aura clear as the sky. But his major concern right now is Airen, who has an anti-demonic energy. Wondering exactly where our hero is, I'll tell you what he is someone you don't want to mess with. The next day, Brett reads aloud an excerpt inspired by Airen's recent win, claiming that his title as champion is under dispute. And get this, it's because of one of the most ridiculous reasons ever. According to the article, the use of sorcery blades that can change form during battles should not be allowed, and because of this recent event, talks about a rematch have been brought up. However, former champion Ilya has spoken up about the issue and said that she accepted her defeat, of which controversy following Airen's win was silenced. Because of this, the Land of Attestment welcomes its new champion. Hearing this, the first to voice their annoyance is Judith. She finds it ridiculous about all the things Airen pulled during the final match, as Brett does his best to calm her. Kubaru, on the other hand, is quiet and just made a mental note of how amazing Airen is, making the impossible possible. The orc finds his friend's unbreakable devotion toward his goal and his bravery in facing whatever adversity is ahead commendable. Now, Kubaru can't help but compare the Airen from back then and how much he has changed, but whenever the orc looks at him, he gets this bitter feeling which he can't help but wonder where it stems from. Back to the trio, Brett asks Airen what happened to his sword during the match, and Airen told him that his sword has maintained its new form, but he has no idea why it changed suddenly in the first place. At this, Kubaru suggested that maybe it had to do with the dream he had, which Airen said it could, so next time he will ask. Judith questioned our hero who he was gonna ask, and Lulu was the one who answered, saying our hero will ask the man in his dreams. The redhead was surprised that Airen could do something like this, but our hero just said that he has a feeling he'll be able to ask him now. A week later at the champion's estate, Airen visits Ilya with a bouquet in hand as our hero asks how she's doing. But before she could answer, the former champion noticed that Airen bought her a bouquet of Adonis flowers, smiling sweetly as our hero shyly answered that he was not sure what to give her, but he did remember that she seemed to like these flowers from before. Ilya answered that she does love them and told him to come in. Is our ship sailing? It looks like it is. The two had a talk wherein our hero told Ilya that he'll be leaving the Land of Attestment, although he has no specific destination in mind. Still, his mind is made up that he'll leave in a couple of days. This time, Airen questions her about what she plans to do from here on, and the former champion was quiet for a moment before clenching her hands, admitting that she has no idea what to do next. She told him that after their match, she came to realize a couple of things and how far astray she has gone. Aside from these, the goal she's been chasing all along, which is related to Ignet, is too much for her. But now that the path she has always been chasing after disappeared now, Ilya admits that she has no idea what to do next anymore. It's mainly because of this, which is why Ilya doesn't know what to do and where to go next, looking worried as she said so. And you all know what happens next, right? Airen told her to come with him. Ilya blushed, surprised at Airen's suggestion, though we think she's somewhat hoping for something like this as well. But Airen just explained in all seriousness that they're both in the same boat, no pun intended, and that he's still trying to figure out what he needs to do as well as where to go next. Our hero added with a smile that the only thing that keeps him going is the people who believe in him, which he thinks is the same for Ilya's case. At this, the former champion's blush grew brighter, as our hero added that he was able to come this far because she believed in him all those years ago. So now, he wants to return the favor and believe in her this time around. He added that she shouldn't worry since he believes she can do it, urging her once again to come with him, which Ilya agreed to with a smile. Or so they thought, because Brett is against it. As one plot twist, we didn't expect that even Judith was surprised, but more so Airen. Their silver-haired friend already had her head hung low upon hearing this, but Brett was not done. He told Ilya that she was fine being by herself all this time, so now he questions what made her change her mind to join a group this time. Airen tried to answer on her behalf, saying that they're part of the same cohort, and they did spend time together training, but the blue-haired noble ignored him, calling for Ilya's attention and asking her to answer truthfully. Did he ever consider him and Judith as his comrades? The former champion didn't answer, and Brett continued, pointing out that she only ever trusted Airen before. At this, Judith started to call out Brett for running his mouth like that, but the latter remains unchanged. What he did propose, though, is that they should try getting closer first, smiling at Ilya. The two women were surprised at his turn, and Brett told them that people could get closer by sharing secrets, which is why he went first. With all seriousness, Brett revealed to Airen and Ilya that Judith believed in Santa Claus until she was 14. Not really the kind of secret we had in mind, but that's a start. Back to Judith's cute but childish secret. The Bluebeard spilled the tea on how she didn't curse and acted like an angel for a few months, hoping she'll be on Santa's good list this year, but everyone was too shocked to say anything. But really though, Judith believing in Santa at the age of 14 just screams peak Judith energy. As the blue-haired noble went on to divulge her secret, the embarrassed Judith facepalmed, trembling with shame at how he had the audacity to reveal this, and whacked Brett in the head. As Judith went on beating the crap out of Brett, Airen and Ilya just exchanged looks with a smile. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, both our ships are sailing tonight, and yes, Airen's really out here collecting nakama with each storyline. Brett, who's now a poorly drawn character thanks to the beating he received from Judith, hung by her hand as the redhead roared, forcing the others to spill their secrets as well. She refused to go down alone, so might as well drag them with her. And for the first time, we see the former champion and the current champion of the Land of Attestment tremble in fear in front of a dragoness Judith. Later that night, everyone is asleep in their own beds, including our very own Airen, who is soon transported to the usual place where the old man swings his sword. As soon as he stepped foot in the place, our hero was quick to approach him for the first time ever and asked who he is. In addition to that, Airen also asked why he kept showing up in his dreams and what he was trying to tell our hero last time, before his fight against Ilya. The older man just stared at him and once again got into position, as Airen's newly forged sword appeared in between them, lodged in the ground. At this, Airen just remembered that this older man was also a swordsman as well, and before anything else, the language they should first converse in is through their blades. With Airen finally realizing this, he dislodged his sword from the ground, rising to the older man's challenge. It hasn't even been long since we saw the boss battle between him and Ilya, and now we got another one. The pacing of this man was getting better each time. The older man made the first move and lunged straight at Airen, his sword already mid-swing, as our hero met his head, resulting in a collision with dust and smoke flying everywhere. The two were not letting on as Airen braced himself, while the older man remained impassive, and now they have both manifested their golden auras. Just then, the older swordsman made a big swing and slashed our hero, who managed to block it but got pushed back in the process. Huffing for breath, Airen told the older man that he was pretty strong and that he was also aware that his opponent spent countless days practicing to achieve this kind of strength. Moreover, he told the older man that he also wants to be like him before dashing straight at the man in his dreams. As Airen drew closer to him, he focused his aura on his hands, amplifying his hold on the blade as he prepared to execute the downward slash. There was a ray of light, like lightning, and the next thing the older man saw is his blade shattering right before his eyes as the tip of Airen's blade points at him. Surprisingly, the old man spoke, for the very first time, looking at Airen fondly and tapping his shoulder while saying he'll be rooting for our hero. As soon as the old man said this, he started to vanish into thin air as Airen tried to grab hold of him, but as soon as he did, he woke up from the dream. Well, that exactly didn't answer Airen's questions, but that's some development right there. As soon as the gangs all rounded up, Airen quickly disclosed what happened in the dream to them, and just as Judith asked if the older man told him that he was rooting for him, Brett followed up with what came after that, to which our hero said that the older man vanished like smoke. But what's bothering Airen the most is that he feels like he won't be seeing the older man ever again, while Kubaru only stared at him. After narrating his thoughts, the orc decided to speak up and suggested to the group if they would like to go to Drukali next. At the mention of this, the foursome looked at Kubaru, awaiting further explanation, but Judith only asked where it was located, which Brett answered, saying it was an orc city in the northwest. Kubaru added that it's his hometown where his teacher, the orc tribe's grand fortune teller and great sage Guruvaru, resides. The fortune teller orc also explained that with his abilities, he may be able to find out about Airen's dreams and the mysterious older man that kept appearing in them, which caught Airen's attention. Brett gave the okay, telling Kubaru that he was okay with going to Drukali, and asked Judith's opinion, which the latter also didn't mind and had other things in mind. For our resident redhead, it's enough for her that she gets to fight the two strongest people here every day and turn to Airen and Ilya. Speaking of Ilya, she's also fine with going to Drukali, and Lulu is already excited since the little mystic has never been to an orc village before. Finally, a new adventure. And with that, the group was quick to depart the land of attestment the next day. But before they did, Ilya bade her goodbye to Emma, telling her bodyguard to send word to her parents as the dark-skinned lady promised, also wishing her mistress a safe trip. Just then, the silver-haired swordsman remembered that she forgot to give her greetings to the priest. However, Emma told her that he already left a couple of days ago, citing that he had an emergency he had to attend to, which is why he sent his regards to Ilya through Emma. The former champion didn't question this too much and finally bade her bodyguard goodbye. As their carriage retreated to the distance, Lulu bade one last goodbye to everyone and told them to take care. Now that the land of attestments champion and the former champion has left, the people started to chatter about how they can't believe both of them left on the same day, which only means that the champion's seat is now vacant. Soon, everyone's fired up thinking they could finally take over the champion's seat. But of course, we're not staying to see which of them gets the top spot. Now, back to our heroes. Since Drukali seems to be a long way away and the crew didn't have anything planned, they took their time traveling and spending their days leisurely. For now, they stopped for a short break with Brett proposing that he'll drive the carriage next time so Kubaru could take it easy, especially since he has always looked after them all this time with the chores. Judith was quick to jump in, telling the orc that for today, she'll be the one in charge of making lunch as Brett promised that they'll take care of things this time around. Or so he hoped, because a short while later, Airen questioned if the food Judith cooked is edible, seeing how it was nothing but a charred disfigured object on a stick. Honestly though, what exactly did they expect from someone who only got sword fighting in their mind? Thankfully, Ilya came to the rescue and offered them soup, with Kubaru and Brett surprised that the former champion at least has some skills. The skill to produce poison with food, that is. I don't know what the heck Ilya put in there, but soup is not supposed to be purple, which left the three guys belching and gagging. Ilya couldn't believe that they even called her soup poison, but at least Judith and Lulu were nice enough not to show her that her food is indigestible, pushing it out of sight, seeing how the two ladies are useless with cooking. Kubaru decided that he'll take over it once again and advise them to get out of the way unless he calls for help. Now, as the orc got busy with their dinner, Ilya started guiding Judith on how to manifest her aura to her sword, telling her to think of the blade as an extension of her body, while Brett busies himself picking flowers. He made a small crown and put it on top of Lulu, who was sleeping peacefully, their legs Zoro and Chopper. Please tell me I'm not the only one who sees them like that. As for our fortune teller orc, he sits silently by the fire, watching the flames crackle as our hero plops down on the log beside him. Kubaru asks Airen if he's done with training, but our hero answers with a question, asking the orc if something has been weighing on his mind. At this, Kubaru just let out a sigh and told our hero that nothing really gets past him when it comes to things like these, so the orc decided to be truthful, revealing to our hero that he's afraid to go back to his hometown. He explained that the reason why he left wasn't really the best, and he was afraid to return alone, as cowardly as that may sound. Hearing this, Airen finally understood why his friend has been wandering around the continent for the last 10 years, while Kubaru apologized to him for wanting to lean on them for something like this. Kubaru even thinks it's pretty pathetic for someone his age to act this way, but Airen, bless his kind soul, never judged Kubaru for it. Moreover, our hero pointed out that it was Kubaru himself who suggested going to Drukali and was the one who had the courage to do so despite the circumstances. Upon hearing this, the orc trembled, overwhelmed at Airen's word, but could only muster a simple thanks. Moving forward, the next day while on the road, their carriage wheel broke under the hands of Brett's driving skills. Kubaru could only sigh in disappointment since both ladies already brought him down with their cooking, and he really believed the blue-haired noble would be different from them. Brett apologized as Judith told him off while the former reasoned out that he was not familiar with navigating this terrain. Lucky for them, our merchant's coach came just in time to their rescue. Seeing them, York hurriedly ran over them, asking for help, and thankfully, the two merchants were pretty open to helping our heroes. As Kubaro brought the men over, he explained that they were heading to a nearby orc tribe and agreed to help them out as they introduced themselves as Frederick and Kenjal. Our four swordsmen did the same, including our little mystic, but upon hearing their names, Frederick started wondering where he heard these names before. But since they had to go, Frederick didn't dwell too much on it and away they went, with our crew sitting pretty at the back of the caravan. This time, it's Ilya's turn to sigh deeply as our resident mascot approached her, asking if she was okay since the former champion doesn't look too good. At this, Ilya told Lulu that she can't help but wonder what she'll do from now on, although she admits that a weight has now been lifted off her shoulders, like most of us who got used to struggling. Ilya feels uneasy if getting that load off is a good thing. And that's when Lulu decided to sit on her lap, telling her that she needs to stop thinking about anything as soon as her head feels overloaded, shocking the swordsman. The sorcerer cat pointed out that if she kept thinking about it, then that just means she'll continue to worry as well, which is why Lulu advised her to just let everything go and give her heart a little break. Now, to practice what the cat preaches, Lulu urged Ilya to follow its teachings and proceeded to stare blankly at nothing. Seeing them like that, Judith couldn't help but chuckle at the two, thinking they looked silly with what they were doing, but just then, Frederick let out a shout, telling his fellow merchant that he finally remembered, scaring the older guy. The former kept on telling him that the people they have just helped are the Golden Generation, the very same Golden Generation who became more famous in the land of attestment. Frederick is full-on hyped right now after remembering this fact, but the older man just questioned if it was really them. Frederick was pretty sure of it since he noticed they got the same names, but he only got smacked by the older guy, pointing out that just because they share the same names as the swordsman from the land of attestment means that it was them. Besides, Kenjal also pointed out that they'd most likely be fighting in an arena somewhere and making a lot of money, rather than be stuck in the middle of nowhere, even telling the younger merchant to just take a look at them. And true enough, the whole group is now busy staring at nothing, heeding Lulu's words of advice from before. Not gonna lie, these are not the best looks for our heroes, and it's kinda hard to convince people how powerful they are looking like that, which made Frederick think that he must have mistaken them for the Golden Generation. But they were about to find out soon enough that he was right. Just then, a shadow zoomed past their caravan, followed by the merchant's shout, telling everyone to wake up. As Kubar asked them what was going on, Frederick is frozen in fear, only looking ahead as a group of orc bandits started to approach them. Moreover, one of the orcs who was leading the pack looked extra intimidating and is believed to be the leader, known for killing anything and anyone who gets in their way. And as if on cue, the orc leader ordered his men to kill them all, making the others run straight to our hero's caravan, shouting in intimidation as they did. One of them leaped in the air and was about to hit Frederick, but our OG Airen came in and sliced the orc in half, protecting the merchant. He told Frederick to stand back as the rest of the golden cohort dashed straight to the enemy, swashbuckling their way to subduing them. It's been a while since we've seen Brett in action, and we have to admit, the blue-haired nobles still got it as Judith did her usual fighting technique. Meanwhile, we have Ilya, who managed to decapitate not just one but 3 orcs in one swift move, sprinting at an incredible speed. Frederick could only hang his mouth open, seeing our foursome in action and the fact that they're all taking down these orcs in single blows, despite the common belief that orcs are way stronger than humans. They ain't called the Golden Generation for nothing, man. Seeing them do all these in real flesh just proves that they're the real deal as our foursome continue to fend off the bandits. Our hero got some of that action for himself, and despite seeing how the 4 of them slayed their comrades, many of the orcs kept at it. Airen stabs the orc who just shouted a battle cry, his blood spilling all over him, but he didn't have time to react since another one was already charging toward him. Our hero draws his blade out of the previous orc's body and takes a big swing, cutting in half the bodies of 5 other orcs. From here, Airen realized for the first time that he just ended 6 lives in an instant, which left him reeling for a bit. Brett saw our hero seems to be struggling and called him, asking if he was okay since he doesn't look too good, but Airen told his friend that he was fine. Even our hero is aware that now is not the time to hesitate and feel melodramatic about it as he prepares to fight off the rest of the orcs coming their way. Our hero's skills also attracted the leader's attention, and because of this, he decided that he should get serious as well. He grabbed one of his men and crushed his head, instantly killing the latter and shocking both Airen and Judith, who saw it unfold before their eyes. As soon as the blood from his underling spread on his fist, he experienced not only an instant aura boost, but also his body began to grow buffer, and turned to a blood-red color. As soon as his transformation was over, the orc leader gave a war cry as Kubaru looked on, shocked at seeing someone perform blood magic since it was forbidden. The powered-up orc leader started running towards Airen and Judith, seething with rage as he shouted that he'll kill them all when out of the blue, a giant hammer flew out of nowhere, smashing the orc leader to the opposite direction and smashing him to the nearby rock cliffs. What's this now? Is that Mjolnir? The leader of the orc was stunned, roaring as he was still being kept in place by the hammer on his chest, but Airen was already looking in the direction where the hammer came from, and suddenly, there was a movement from a nearby cliff. Immediately, there was another orc much older than the orc leader, since this one had long white hair tied into a braid and clad in golden braces and shoulder plating. This other orc was instantly in front of the red one, smashing the latter that resulted in an explosion that shook the ground. As soon as the smoke and dust settled, this white-haired orc, who's now wielding an axe, yelled and ordered his warriors to charge. As soon as he did, a swarm of orcs clad in violet cloaks started descending from the cliff he emerged at, and they're pretty strong too. Like Airen and the gang, these orc soldiers took down the bandits in one fell swoop, decapitating and killing them all in a single blow. Rhett was also shocked at the development, wondering who this army of orcs are, as Kubaru came forward and told him that they are Drukali's orc warriors and leading them is the Drukali clan's former chief and elementalist. Moreover, Kubaru added that this esteemed elementalist is one of the top 10 strongest in the continent called Orc Karakam, his father. Holy crap, so does that mean Kubaru has similar fighting abilities to his old man? Now, the orc father and son are face to face. Kubaru greeted his father, but the older orc didn't share the same sentiment and ordered his son to go back and added that this is his last act of mercy as his father. But before Kubaru could even reason out, his father suddenly turned hostile, telling him to leave and never set foot in Drukali again. But Kubaru was undeterred, saying he can't do it and that he also needs to talk to Tarakan, but the older orc was not having it. Just then, Airen stepped forward and intervened between the two orcs. Our hero obviously took Kubaru's side, explaining that his son mustered a lot of courage to return and asked the older orc if he could at least just consider talking to him first, but Karakam ignored his suggestion and questioned our hero's identity in response. Airen introduced himself as Kubaru's friend and apprentice, but the older orc told him off, saying that this issue is between their clan and bloodline, and since he's a stranger, he has no say in it. Our hero wasn't backing down though, and told Kubaru's father that it does concern him since it involves his teacher and friend, stressing that he's not a stranger, attaboy Airen. The older orc took a moment before questioning our hero if he was prepared to share the burden with Kubaru, and of course, our hero affirmed and said that he was willing to do anything for Kubaru. Hearing this, the older orc seemed satisfied, but just then, he took a big swing, powering up his hammer, and hurled it toward Airen. Fortunately, our hero managed to block it in time, though it did knock him off his feet. But Karakam was already lunging toward our hero, and this time, he attacked Airen with his mighty axe and slashed him as Airen continued to be pushed back. The older orc was not done, and as he grew nearer Airen, he pulled his hand back, calling his hammer once again to smash Airen. Seeing this, our hero was shocked that the hammer was moving by itself and our hero was blown away from the impact of the attack. Watch out, Captain America. Now, back to the battle. Kubaru's father thought that Airen's doing pretty well in softening the blow of his attacks by covering himself in the aura, as our hero now started to emit the golden glow from his aura. Even the older orc admits that Airen's doing a good job at utilizing his metal energy, but before the younger swordsman could fully recover, Karakam came at him again. Thinking just how long could Airen last in withstanding his barrage of attacks, he managed to blow Airen's weapon out of our hero's hands, telling him how impressed he was that he was able to block these attacks with his human body. But despite seeing his effort, Karakam tells Airen to give up, but our hero conjured his sword out of thin air, surprising the older orc who was wide open as he is in the middle of swinging his axe. With Airen's slash, Kubaru's father was blown back, but more important than that, he wonders if Airen uses magic to bring his sword back. This time, Karakam tells Airen that he acknowledges our MC's strength and added that it won't be easy to win if he doesn't get serious. For his last warning, the older orc tells our hero that this is as far as he goes, commanding him and Kubaru to leave this place as he clanks both weapons in his hand. Not only that, but Karakam also threatened Airen that he would make it so that our hero could never wield a sword again if they refused to leave. But this time, it's Lulu's turn to intervene. The little mystic is now emitting a violet glow, angered at the older orc for his attitude. As the sorcerer cat tells him off, Lulu levitates and continues to form a violet force field that grows by the minute and threaten Karakam that if he attacks Airen again, the older orc would regret it. Suddenly, there was a burst of light with Airen calling out to Lulu, and soon enough, a little girl with horns and wings popped out. You know crap's about to go down real bad when the resident mascot takes on human form. Lulu's a she, and more important than that, those horns and wings, could she be a dragon? That kinda explains why she has this hoarding obsession. But anyway, back to the current situation. Violet sparks of lightning are flying everywhere as Lulu looks down on Karakam, while Brett and Judith stare wide-eyed at their once sorcerer cat friend, wondering if she has turned into a dragon. Even Lulu herself is shocked at the transformation, especially her wings. She didn't like the stiff ones. She wants her wings to be fluffy. Karakam could only keep his guard up, looking at the sorcerer when Lulu remembered and procured a magic staff, telling Airen that she'll punish the older orc for him. Using the staff, the once little mystic pointed the staff at Karakam, and as soon as she did, there was a janky dama of fire that went past Karakam. What? The older orc just stared, confused at the direction of the attack as Lulu started to panic seeing that she missed, and by a few good meters, mind you. Unfortunately, the ones who are in the danger zone of the giant fireball are the rest of the Drukali orcs. They came running and panicking at the approaching mass of fireball, which landed just a few meters away from them. Luckily, none of them got hurt, but they did do a little extra cardio to avoid that. From this, a large crater was left as a grim reminder of how they would have ended up as s'mores if they didn't move out of the way fast enough. Meanwhile, Lulu gave up on using that attack again, saying that it was too difficult as Brett and Judith hang their mouths open at what just happened. Just then, Kubaru stepped up once again, telling his father and Airen to stop fighting. The fortune-teller orc once again appealed to his father, telling the older man that he was not sure of the decision he made all those years ago, but every time he hears that Drukali is safe, he can't help but think that he did the right thing. Still, Kubaru thought that there may have been other ways to resolve the issue, and he lost many nights of sleep just thinking about this until it dawned upon him that he missed Drukali, where all of his loved ones and people are. As he said this, Kubaru knelt and bowed his head, trembling as he revealed his truth for the first time. Moreover, he told Karakam that his unworthy son came to give him his greetings for the first time in 17 years. At the gesture, Karakam couldn't help but feel a tug in his heart at his son's actions, but he didn't do anything else apart from saying to Kubaru that they'll talk in the castle. At this, Kubaru felt a sense of relief wash over him as he cried silently, his head still hung low. As soon as everyone settled down, Lulu reverted to her cat form and quickly jumped into Airen's arms as our hero asked what just happened. But the little mystic just told our hero that she also wanted to protect Airen, which is why she had been doing some training as well. How sweet. Still, there's her form earlier, which our MC can't help but ask if it was her true form, but even Lulu herself didn't know what that was, yawning as she said this, and added that her body just transformed by itself. Speaking of body, it looks like that transformation took a toll on our resident mascot as she told Airen that she was tired now and fell asleep without another word. Airen cradles her into his arm, urging the little mystic to get some sleep and recover. Meanwhile, Ilya also approached our hero, telling Airen that they also need to get some shut-eye too, especially since they need to get up early and head straight to the castle tomorrow. But before everybody can rest easy for the night, they had to clean up the aftermaths of the battle. Airen and the group started to pile the orcs' dead bodies and burn them together. As the heavy smoke wafted in the air and the fires crackled with their remains, our hero stood silently at the flames as Brett approached him. In his own way, the blue-haired noble asked our MC how he was holding up and if he had any regrets from what transpired a while ago. Airen answered no, and before he could say more, Brett told him that in the future, there are a lot worse things that they have to deal with and advised our MC to prepare himself. Apart from that, Brett also stressed the fact that as long as he made up his mind and decided to wield the sword, then there should be no room for hesitation in his heart. And that also counts for when they have to get their hands bloodied, since it's not only their burden to bear, but also a part of their responsibilities as swordsmen. Hearing all this, Airen was just quiet and agreed to everything his friend has to say. It took a few days more before the gang could finally leave for Drukali's castle, and as soon as they sighted it, Lulu cried in delight at the mere sight of it. Airen and his group were ushered to a spacious and grand receiving area, while Kubaru, on the other hand, had to undergo entry inspection and tells his friends that he'll be back soon. The group was obviously worried about him, but the fortune-teller orc told them not to, and as soon as he left, Judith started to comment about how she thought it was a bit much that the orc had to undergo something like this. However, Brett pointed out that their friend used to be the crown prince of Drukali, which is why he should be held accountable for what he did. Now that the foursome, plus Lulu, are left by themselves, it didn't take long before another orc appeared and ushered them to another room, explaining that Lord Terrakin is waiting for them. Needless to say, Airen and the gang got up without a word and followed the said orc, and this time, Judith asked if Terrakin is Kubaru's younger brother. As always, Brett is the one who answered her question, adding that Terrakin is also the tribe chief, and since they're already talking about him, the blue-haired noble also told Judith that they should be on guard since there's a rumor among the toughest orcs saying that Terrakin is the most aggressive of them all, as the redhead started to keep her head down and worry. Soon, the foursome and Lulu entered a huge chamber with a large table in front where a figure sat by himself. A short-haired orc greets Airen and the gang and introduced himself as Terrakin, and the next word he uttered are words of gratitude for escorting Kubaru safely back to Drukali, smiling as he did so. So much for an aggressive orc. Seeing him like this, Brett and Judith wondered where exactly did those rumors come from since the person before them seems to be warm-hearted. Just then, Airen spoke up and was about to question Kubaru's inspection, but the chief orc told them that he's already cleared and is currently undergoing several administrative procedures. Now, Terrakin asked them how much they knew about their situation, and our hero admitted that they don't know much and asked what happened between them. Terrakin hesitated a bit since he didn't know where to start, but eventually settled with their father Karakum, who has 2 wives. Terrakin's mother, the first and legal wife, had trouble bearing a child for so many years and eventually gave up on having one, and during this time, Karakum's mistress, Kubaru's mother, was able to conceive and gave birth to him. Because of this, Kubaru was naturally named as heir, but when Kubaru turned 10, the legal wife gave birth to Terrakin, which started the whole messy situation they're in right now. Now that there are 2 sons, opposing forces started to formulate with one faction supporting Kubaru as the crown prince, since he's the firstborn, albeit illegitimate, and then there are those who show their support toward Terrakin, the legitimate child and rightful heir. What's important to know about all this is that these 2 brothers have a good relationship with each other, and yet tension grew between both sides. To end all this, Kubaru decided to leave in silence to avoid conflict, but now, after 17 years, he reappeared and became someone both parties felt unwelcoming to, which once again ignited the tension somewhat. However, Terrakin sees how much courage his older brother must have mustered just to be able to return home, while also telling the younger orc that he will no longer run away or cower in fear when the going gets tough. Furthermore, Kubaru also told him that traveling with Airen and the gang helped him become more courageous, and because of this, Terrakin expressed his utmost gratitude to our heroes, and because of that, the tribe chief decided to give them gifts as a reward. At this, Lulu was quick to jump on his table asking for a reward as well. It's good to see our little mystic back to her fluffy and adorable self. Now, for the rewards, Airen and the gang were taken to a separate room, and they all exclaimed in shock as they were led to the Drukali's treasure room. It's one of the most coveted places and is known across the continent, and rightfully so. The chamber is full of artisan weapons and other objects one could only dream about, and Terrakin is telling them to take whatever they like. Could Airen find something that would help him decipher his dream? And what about Kubaru's teacher, who could interpret this for him? Stay tuned for the next episode.